Yogacara is one of the most fascinating and psychologically profound schools of Buddhist philosophy, offering a radical idea that challenges the way we normally understand reality. What if the world we experience is deeply shaped, structured, and even constructed by consciousness itself? Imagine waking from a vivid dream that felt entirely real while you were inside it. Yogacara asks whether ordinary waking life might operate in a surprisingly similar way, not as pure illusion but as an experience inseparable from the workings of the mind. This bold and introspective philosophy transformed Buddhist thought and continues to influence discussions about consciousness, perception, and reality. The term Yogacara means practice of yoga or path of meditation, emphasizing disciplined inner experience rather than abstract speculation alone. The tradition emerged within Mahayana Buddhism around the 4th century CE and is closely associated with thinkers such as Asana and Vajrabandhu. These philosophers sought to explain how suffering arises through mental processes and how liberation becomes possible through transforming consciousness. One of the central teachings of Yogacara is often summarized by the phrase mind only or consciousness only. This idea has frequently been misunderstood as claiming that nothing exists outside the mind. However, Yogacara is more subtle than simple idealism. It does not necessarily deny the existence of an external world. Rather, it emphasizes that everything we know of the world is mediated through consciousness. Human beings never encounter reality in a completely raw or objective form. Every perception is filtered through mental habits, memories, expectations, and conceptual structures. According to Yogacara, ordinary experience is shaped by layers of consciousness operating beneath our awareness. The school developed a sophisticated model of the mind consisting of 8 forms of consciousness. The first 5 correspond to sensory awareness: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. The 6th is mental consciousness, which organizes and interprets sensory input. The 7th consciousness is associated with ego and self-centered attachment, continually clinging to the idea of a permanent self. The 8th and most significant is this storehouse consciousness, known as ālaya-vijñāna. The concept of storehouse consciousness is one of Yogacara's most influential contributions. It functions like a deep reservoir containing karmic seeds formed by past actions, thoughts, and experiences. These seeds shape future perceptions, habits, and tendencies. Every action plants new seeds, which later ripen into experiences. What persists through time is not a fixed self but a constantly changing stream of conditioned consciousness. This theory also provides an explanation for why individuals experience reality differently. Since each person carries different karmic seeds, their perceptions and reactions vary. 2 people can encounter the same situation yet interpret it in entirely different ways because their mental conditioning differs. Yogacara therefore places enormous importance on inner transformation. To change one's experience of reality, one must transform consciousness itself. Meditation and disciplined awareness are central to this process. Yogacara is not merely a speculative philosophy but a practical path aimed at liberation from suffering. Through meditation, practitioners gradually observe how thoughts, emotions, and attachments arise within consciousness. This insight weakens the illusion of a separate, permanent self and reveals the interconnected and conditioned nature of experience. Enlightenment involves purifying consciousness so that distorted perceptions no longer dominate the mind. One of the most remarkable aspects of Yogacara is its psychological sophistication. Long before modern psychology emerged, Yogacara thinkers explored subconscious conditioning, habitual thought patterns, and the role of perception in shaping reality. The Storehouse consciousness bears some resemblance to modern ideas about the unconscious mind, though the comparison is not exact. Yogacara recognizes that much of human behavior is driven by deeply rooted patterns operating beneath conscious awareness. Yogacara also engages with profound philosophical questions about the nature of reality. If all experience is mediated through consciousness, can we ever know an objective world independent of perception? The tradition does not necessarily answer this question with a simple yes or no. Instead, it redirects attention toward the practical problem of suffering. Whether reality exists independently becomes less important than understanding how attachment, ignorance, and conceptual thinking create suffering within experience. Critics of Yogacara, especially from other Buddhist schools, argued that its emphasis on consciousness risked slipping into solipsism or metaphysical idealism. Some worried that it made the external world seem unreal. Yogacara philosophers responded by clarifying that consciousness itself is also empty and conditioned. The school remained consistent with the broader Buddhist doctrine of emptiness, which teaches that all phenomena lack independent, permanent existence. The influence of Yogacara spread far beyond India. In China, it contributed to the development of the Faxiang school, while in Tibet its psychological and epistemological ideas became deeply integrated into Buddhist scholarship. Elements of Yogacara also shaped Zen Buddhism, particularly its emphasis on direct awareness and the transformative nature of mind. In modern times, Yogacara has attracted interest from philosophers, psychologists, and cognitive scientists. Its exploration of perception and consciousness resonates with contemporary discussions about how the brain constructs reality. Some scholars see parallels between Yogacara and phenomenology, the philosophical study of subjective experience. Others compare it with modern theories, suggesting that perception is an active process shaped by mental models rather than a passive reflection of the external world. Ultimately, Yogacara offers a deeply introspective vision of human existence. It suggests that the boundaries between mind and world are far more intertwined than we usually assume. By examining consciousness carefully, we begin to see how suffering is constructed and how liberation becomes possible. Rather than treating the mind as a passive observer of reality, Yogacara presents it as an active participant in shaping experience itself. In the end, Yogacara is not simply a theory about the mind, it is a philosophy of transformation. It invites individuals to look inward, to understand the hidden forces shaping perception, and to cultivate awareness that frees them from illusion and attachment. In this way, Yogacara presents continuity without requiring an eternal path to awakening.